You going back in?
There's still men out there. God damn. When I go home, people ask me, "Hey, Hoot, why do you do it, man? Why?
Are we going live right now?
Just some kind of war junkie?" I won't say a goddamn word. Why? They won't understand. They won't understand why we do it. They won't understand it's about the men next to you. And that's it. That's all it is.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun.
So welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. 'Cause these are my people.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Big Grizz Show. We have our special guest. We have the VP of the Fallen Outdoors. If you guys haven't looked up the Fallen Outdoors, the webpage is running across the bottom of the screen. You guys get on there and look up, especially you vets. There's a lot of good things that intel with them. A lot of fun trips, fishing, hunting, outdoors trips that you probably won't get anywhere else. So on that note, Mike, how you doing today?
What's going on, Big Grizz? Oh, just another day here, man.
Right on. And you guys remember, it is Red Friday. We remember everybody deployed. Obviously, you can tell by our shirts.
Yep.
So, Mike, when did you enlist?
So I joined in July of 2001, obviously prior to the events of 9/11 happening.
So what'd you enlist as? What'd you go in for?
Man, I really had a childhood goal of wanting to be in law enforcement. So I tested and I enlisted as a military police officer.
How long were you in? You do full?
I did 20 years and 21 days. And 21 days counts.
So what do you think the difference between an MP and infantry is in the aspects of, well, let's both sides, CONUS and OCONUS.
Well, let's say we get in less trouble. No, I'm joking. Man, there's not much of a difference. And it all depends on what kind of unit you're in. I started my career in a division MP unit. And so we were always tied at the hip with our infantry our fellows. So being a part of 2nd Brigade combat team, anytime our 2nd Brigade infantry dudes were in the field, we were right there with them. We did all the main missions they do. So, in my eyes, they call us, glorified MPs or whatever, but glorified grunts or whatever you say. But I mean, you guys do some cool stuff too. And there's a lot more aspect to what, the infantry guys do compared to military police. Obviously our first role is, law enforcement on the installations and surrounding areas, but we do have a pretty supportive combat role too to help our brothers.
So when you deploy, obviously you did 20 years, you deployed, you're in the same time I was.
Yeah.
How many deployments did you have?
I have two.
Two, both Iraq or Afghanistan?
Iraq and Afghanistan. Afghanistan was as criminal investigator. When I was in Iraq in 04-05, it was as military police.
So you were CID?
Yes, sir.
So how do you get into that point, going from wanting to be just an MP getting into CID? Because CID is like FBI, military police, basically. Yeah,
pretty much. We're our special investigators or our special agents. We have federal jurisdiction, and it's actually a quite long process. You have to do a huge application. You got to do physical interviews. Obviously, you got to be physically fit. And throughout that whole process, they go through a board selection and they select a certain few members that, of that committee. And it's not just military police can sign up to be a CID agent. We accept all MOSs to be CID. And then once you get selected, you have to go through the school process, which is pretty much it's a separate MOS. So I went from a 31 Bravo to a 31 Delta. And so, that's 16 more weeks of training at Fort Leonard Wood.
So what's the difference between CID and an MP?
So, your basic MP has the road duties, basic law enforcement stuff. Your CID is they conduct all felony level investigations dealing with DoD personnel.
Okay, so I don't know if you can answer this. I'm just gonna take a shot. What's the worst case you had to try when you were in at CID?
Man, I mean, there's two types of cases that I absolutely hate. That is, our 22, the vets that commit suicide, whether it be CONUS or OCONUS, deployed forward or whatever. It's that those hurt to work. You get a snapshot of this soldier's, life story all within, a short confines, and you literally have to pick his story apart and tell his story best you can, and ultimately figure out why he did this. And then, the second part of that is, our sexual assaults.
That seems very rampant in the military.
Yeah.
I've done some podcasts with a couple females, and it seems like every single one of them has had some sort of SV in the time that they were in. And it's always higher ups where they're pretty much scared and don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. I mean, I'm out here at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, so we have a lot of trainees and drill sergeants. We're human, man. We're human. But you have to know that when you're in a position of power, you can't do some things to those who are under you. And it's a tough scenario, even if it is, mutual consent. It's still that when you're in that position of power, it's illegal. So it's tough, man. And that's a big thing in the military nowadays is, sexual assault, not just towards the women. It's, men get it too. So.
Yeah, I've heard that. I haven't talked to anybody that has actually, let me rephrase that. Have had one Navy vet that was on here, and he was my USO. And we never got into it, but it was definitely hinted towards that something like that happened when he was on the boat. But when you say, so if it's mutual, why would it be illegal just because somebody outranks somebody else?
Because it's all about that position of power. So, a drill sergeant to a trainee, drill sergeants are entrusted with the opportunity and the capability to train these young soldiers and hold that position of power. So even if it is mutual, it still goes against the UCMJ because he holds that position of power. And so, is he telling this soldier that he has to do this or she has to do this because he is in this position? It's a big thing, man. It's a big deal.
So let's just get down. I mean, is it SV, DV, murders, or drug cases? What do you think is the worst in the military as of when you got out?
We have a fair share of everything, and I always say the military is its own community, much like, the local town near you or the town you live in. All you gotta do is throw a fence around it. And that's the same thing a military community has. We're diverse. We have tons of people, tons of ethnic backgrounds. And, we have murders, we have suicides, we have drug cases, we have sexual assaults, we have shopliftings. And so, it's a combination of all that. It's our own community. So I couldn't really put a number out there on which one is worse as far as number wise. But obviously when I retired in 2021, our sexual assault cases were pretty much through the roof. It's unacceptable, man. It just makes for a bad command climate in the whole military itself.
Wow. Is it just as bad being deployed?
Believe it or not, yeah, man.
Worse.
I mean, you've heard in the news. You don't hear too much about like murders and stuff like that, but there's plenty of murders. Obviously, there's suicides. And when I was deployed to Bagram as a criminal investigator, man, we worked tons of drug cases. The things that soldiers and they'll do to stay awake on guard shift or is incredible. And then having access to heroines and hash and all that stuff, whatever they do back here stateside, it really doesn't change forward. And you still have people sending drugs through the mail to get to their soldiers and stuff like that. So it's crazy, man. It's just like putting a fence around the U.S., man. Everything that goes on in the U.S. goes on in the military.
Yeah, I didn't even think. I never really thought that extensive into it. I knew there was a lot of like DV and SA, but I
Yeah.
didn't realize the drug and the murder and all. I didn't know it was that bad. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, man, it's rough. I mean, the DVSV stuff, that the domestic violence and stuff and sexual assaults, a lot of that has to do with alcohol. Alcohol is kind of glamorized in the United States Armed Forces, and it's a bad situation. So
It's a very bad situation. I mean, I remember when we were deployed, we got in a water fight and we were just playing around. Well, one of the bottles was for an individual that was a little higher up than us, but he got it from the Moldovan Special Forces, and it was all vodka. And man, we sprayed a lieutenant with it, and that was not a butter bar lieutenant. I mean, like lieutenant colonel.
oh wow,
Playing and in it, and that smell got out, and we were just all of us were like, "What is this?" We didn't. I mean, we knew what it was. You can smell it. It was vodka.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
But we didn't know it was there. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, should have told us this, because now we all stink, and now we're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
So you enlisted. When was your first deployment?
So I went to Iraq, northern Iraq, in 2004, 2005 timeframe.
Northern Iraq. Where were you at in northern Iraq?
So we were based out of Kirkuk, but we spent a lot of our time down in Tikrit area. So.
And then you're obviously you said you were at Bagram. I was in Cornwall Valley in Afghanistan. Was not fun. Been to Bagram. I was at JBAD. It's just the differences between Iraq and there were like night and day. It was Afghanistan. It was like straight up like a war. Where Iraq, you didn't know who you were fighting. You didn't know where they were going. I mean, they'd come and go, and it was a whole hot mess. Out of those two, this is hard. Which one do you think was happier for you, where you didn't have to deal with a lot? If that makes sense. I can't think of the word that I'm trying to get out, but
yeah, no, I feel you. Man, I mean, for me, being a division MP company, the roles and responsibilities we had in Iraq were far and above beyond what we had in Afghanistan. In Iraq, we were constantly outside the wire, constantly doing convoys. That time frame, IEDs were one of the biggest killers of our troops. And so we were always on the road. And for 14, 15 months, man, it was just a stressful time. Doing criminal investigations in Bagram in Afghanistan was a lot more relaxed. I got plenty of gym time in. We did a lot of traveling and stuff because we covered all of RC East. Our office did, but we were constantly heloing. I don't ever think I went outside the wire in any type of vehicle. If I flew to a different FOB for a type of investigation, we always got heloed in or C-17'd in, and then right back out. So it wasn't. I mean, it was still obviously deployment. You still got our biggest threat there was your incomings and stuff. But yeah, Iraq was, I would say it was a lot worse.
See, I think I was more scared in Iraq than I was Afghanistan, because Afghanistan, it was more of like actual you were fighting, where Iraq, we didn't know. And heavens forbid if we got picked and we had to go down Route Irish. I'm sure you've been there or you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Is the worst road in the world, in my opinion. I mean, that's where I got hit. That's where I actually got hit and got evac'd out off of Route Irish. And it just wasn't no fun. So did you ever have to do any like foot patrols or anything like that? Or were you strictly just on bases doing investigations?
So as a criminal investigator, we were stationed out of Bagram, but we worked cases all in RC East. So anytime a situation happened in another FOB, we had to send agents out to that area. But also, a huge part of what we did at, Disney area or, Bagram was anybody that was injured or killed in action, obviously came through Bagram. And part of our duties is, going to attending the autopsies and kind of doing an internal investigation, especially detainee deaths. So every detainee that died in U.S. custody came through Bagram. And then, we'd have to go in there and do the kind of an initial investigation, make sure there was no detainee abuse and stuff like that. And that was actually pretty neat because, we got to see all the classified footage of firefights, and, you'd see this guy getting blown out of a vehicle or a building and rolling down a hill. And when they got taken into custody, he was obviously alive. So that he's a detainee. And then if he died in custody, no matter if it was from his wounds or whatever, we had to do a little bit of investigating into that, and it was pretty neat.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll dive right back in when we get back. All right.
Sounds good.
Hey guys, Noelle here. In honor of our soldiers, our military personnel that are currently deployed right now, I wanted to take the time to personally thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for all that you guys do, even the veterans. I also wanted you guys to see our team and what they had written to you guys personally. I wish you all nothing but love and respect.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veterans, do you take medication? At VA, prescriptions have a range of copay levels, from free to $5, $8, or $11 for a 30-day prescription, depending on your eligibility. Refill by mail, in person, or on VA's mobile app. Sign up at va.gov or call 1-800-MyVA411.
The fact that our patriotism in America is dwindling, I really wanted to start the American AF movement. Freedom is fragile, very fragile. It takes a certain level of intestinal fortitude to stand up and say and do the right thing to preserve the freedoms that so many have paid a large price for. About being in the military, and that recruiter said, it's not Biden's army, it's your army, it's his army, it's his army, it's all of our army.
American tactical. American as f***.
So we've talked, and I know you've had more experiences than what we've gone through. Can you walk us through what did you do after you got out of CID? I know you had some fun jobs, and I got a picture of you, and I believe that's with the congressman or the senator.
That's Honorable McHugh. He was the Secretary of the Army.
Okay, so you met him. So
yeah.
let's walk us through from your time when you got back from Afghanistan to where you went to that kind of a fun type of job that you had.
Yeah, so I spent 90% of my time as a criminal investigator doing protective services. That's a huge portion of what Army criminal investigations do. It's based out of Fort Belvoir, Virginia. It's called the Protective Services Battalion. And we provide in-close security, executive level security for all our dignitaries and our foreign counterparts. One of the teams I was on was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, vice chairman, secretary of the Army, chief of staff of the Army, and all their foreign counterparts. So we got to do a lot of security for those guys. It's the blacked out SUVs, suits, MP5 type missions. It was pretty cool. And then for a short period of my time, I got to be actually the personal security officer for Secretary McHugh, who was a Secretary of the Army.
What year was that?
2015, I believe.
So how did you get that job? I mean,
so all MOSs have ASIs, your additional skill identifiers, and one of the criminal investigations and just general military police can have is the Protective Services PSD ASI. And so when I got back from Afghanistan, I was stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas as a criminal investigator. And we have a lot of dignitaries that come through that area. And so I had to attend the 3-week course for protective services, which got me certified to do protective services. And then once I PCS from Fort Leonard Wood, I was selected to go to Fort Belvoir to the Protective Services Unit.
I have never heard of that fort. Where is that at?
Fort Belvoir?
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's Virginia.
Oh,
It's
okay.
right on the outskirts of DC. It's up close to like Fort Myer.
So you got selected to do that. Is
Mhm.
that so you got handpicked?
Yeah.
So that kind of happened to me. I'm sure you know what an MET team is.
Yeah.
I got selected in that. I got selected to be an MET team on my second deployment to Iraq, and I thought that was cool because we got to drive all the USO guys around.
Yeah.
And anybody that came out, I mean, I got to meet Toby Keith. I got to meet the Dallas cheerleaders. I got to meet all these really cool people that I got to drive around, and we got handpicked for that. So when they handpick you, what are the qualifications for that type of job that they have to go through to say, "Hey, I want you to do this"?
It's really kind of on recommendations. Once you do support missions is what we call it. So anytime a dignitary we come into an installation, we ask for some of the local CID agents to support us in that mission. And if you do real well on those missions, obviously they take heed and take notice of you. And I'm a talker. I'm very personable. At that time, I was very good at PT. Different story now, but
Big time.
yeah, I'm very familiar with my firearms. I'm a very good shot. And so, my leadership kind of took that all consideration and said, hey, this might be something you're very good at. And I loved it, man. It was fun. You get to travel the world for free and see a lot of cool stuff. And those USO tours, like what you were talking about, they're pretty neat to get on.
They are, and getting like selected, like I got selected for that MET team. I've been to 27 countries, all having to basically be an elite security force or security guard. I mean, that's the best way I can point it is we were an elite security guards for people. And it's something else. You definitely get to see the world. That's for sure. That I miss that. And to me, that didn't seem as harmful as just being a grunt.
Yeah.
Where I can't say it probably was in certain countries where we were definitely on our guard. But driving just those people around and meeting that elite class of people, it's something else. And then, I mean, some of them, they're just straight normal guys. They're just, they just want to talk and learn about us.
And those guys that go on those type of trips too, I'm talking about like our celebrities and sports athletes and stuff like that. They really love their veteran community, and it's awesome seeing how they interact. And anytime you're on those types of missions, man, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy. So it's a cool mission to be on, and each mission has its own threat assessment, I guess you could say. And some of those you're more on guard, and some of those you're less on guard. But man, it was a great job doing protective services.
I mean, I can go on my memory. The funnest people I got to meet. I mean, one was Toby Keith, and when he was in country, because he was in Iraq, and we had to take him to the USO tours and drive him around. That dude was all about wanting to have a gun and to do everything. He was extremely patriotic. He was just like guy of guys, and he's huge. He is not small.
Oh yeah.
And then that and Ron White. I think that was the best time I laughed so hard was meeting him. And
Ron White's awesome. The blue collar comedy guys are hilarious.
Oh, but man, when you get him out and it's just you and him, or we're driving around and he's in our Humvee, and I mean he's cracking jokes the whole time, and you're trying to pay attention to what's going on and listening to him because it's like a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah.
It was something
tough,
else.
Man. It's definitely a good job though.
So your Secretary of the Army, was that your most memorable person that you met?
I wouldn't say it's my most memorable. I mean, I did a lot of military working dog stuff too, and I got to work the inauguration of President Obama, and so I met tons of celebrities during that time frame. My sister, who's about 10 years younger than me, I got her some pictures of the Jonas Brothers back when the Jonas Brothers were cool, and so she was all up in arms about that. Met a lot of cool celebrities during that time frame. But as far as when I was doing PSD work, one of the coolest bosses I got to work with was General Odierno. If you don't know who General Odierno is, I mean, he's like this 12-foot tall monster,
He's 4-star. He was 4-star, right?
He was, yeah. Yeah, he was the chief of staff of the Army. He did pass away, in the last few years of some cancer and stuff, but it was phenomenal general. Told it like it is and like it was. Harsh mouth, great leader. And me, I'm only 5'5" tall, and at the time I was probably 150 pounds. And this dude, like I said, this dude was like 12 foot tall. He was like 6'8", 7 foot, something like that, 300 plus pounds. He looked like a damn linebacker. Yeah, he was a big dude. And so when I'm protecting him, I got the crotch down is what I always said. I'll stand here and got the crotch down. But he's a big dude. But man, he was cool shit to be around. And Secretary McHugh too was phenomenal leader. A little fella, and I say that not lightly, but he was a great dude, just real lightweight. If the wind blew, you got to watch out because he was going to get blown over. But he was great to be around, very personable, and it's just cool being walking around the Pentagon and seeing all the brass and stuff like that, and it's a neat job.
So you listeners, our phone lines are open. You guys can call if you got questions for us, or if you got questions for Mike. We're going to get into here in a little bit. We're going to take a break. And we're going to get into the fallen outdoors side of it, and that's that's a good one because that's one of the foundations I really like being a part of, big time. So you got out in E7, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right, that's what it looked like. Was it easy for you to get to E7? See, I got out as an E6.
Yeah. Ranks kind of based on your job, I guess you could say, at the time where I switched over to CID, my halfway part in the military police, it was hard to make E7, so I knew that if I wanted a career in the Army and a well worth it career, I had to make some type of change. And when I switched, I was a dog handler. So, making E7 in the dog handling world was even harder. So I switched over to CID, and my first year within CID, I made the 7 list. 7 it's a fairly easy rank to make in CID. You got a lot of positions for E7s and Sergeant First classes. So it was fairly easy. A lot of the E7s, I think the reason it's easy is a lot of the E7s, E6s switch when they're in CID to warrant officers. Because in CID, you only have 2 types of agents. You have your enlisted and you have your warrant officers. And so a lot of those senior non-commissioned officers switch over to be warrant officers. So it always leaves that door open for E7s. And I thought about going warrant officer, but didn't really want to as much as I wanted to. And so, I just stuck with the enlisted route and liked being the leader on that side.
So what was the funniest thing you did with your brothers when you were deployed? What was that?
I don't know if the statutes of limitations have run out on some of the things we've done, so I don't know how much I can say. No, I was never in trouble. I would say one of the most memorable things that have ever happened on any type of deployment was definitely Iraq. And it's vivid to this day. Me and my buddy Ryan Webb, he's a big outdoorsman like me. We still keep in touch. He's got a beautiful family. We were sitting on, I think level 2 is what our building was. We had 2 levels. We were on the upper level, right on the corner. And man, we were sitting out there in these plastic chairs, and we always had IDF, incoming fire, shots, all kinds of stuff. And we heard a loud boom, and we literally saw like something coming right at us. And we flipped off these chairs, broke our chairs, low called in our room, and it was a damn firework. But dude, we were rolling, and it came from the city. But we were rolling about it. We were laughing. That memory is ingrained in my life, and I have a picture of him somewhere around here. I got a picture of me and him together holding fishing poles. I don't know where it's at. Oh, that's my daughter's. I got a picture of me and him holding fishing poles at Saddam's pond in Baghdad.
Yeah, I've been there.
I think it was Tikrit. So anytime we had a chance to fish and to crit, we were throwing lines in the water trying to catch something.
Oh,
So
brother, I wanted to fish that. I mean, I can picture that palace, and I mean the pond right in front of it is just,
yeah,
it's like a big square.
yep.
And oh man, I wanted to fish that every time. I actually got a good one after that. Right next to that palace, there was a kind of like a W-shaped warehouse that we had to clear, and we found a lot of money in that building in safes. So on that note, you guys stay tuned. Right after this break, we're going to talk about the TFO, which is the Fallen Outdoors, and everything they get into to help vets get outdoors and what they're all about. So you guys stay tuned for this one. It's going to be a good one.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veterans, do you take medication? At VA, prescriptions have a range of copay levels, from free to $5, $8, or $11 for a 30-day prescription, depending on your eligibility. Refill by mail, in person, or on VA's mobile app. Sign up at va.gov or call 1-800-MyVA411.
All right, you guys seen that? So, Mike, what is the Fallen Outdoors?
Before, this is what I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's definitely in Iraq. That's awesome.
Yeah.
With fishing poles. All right.
Those uniforms, you can tell. But yeah, man, that's my battle buddy Ryan Webb. So the Fallen Outdoors. Yeah, let's get into it, man. I stumbled upon the Fallen Outdoors in 2015, right when I got to Fort Leonard Wood as a protective services instructor. One of my students came through, and this dude's like, "Hey, have you heard of the Fallen Outdoors? You talk about hunting and fishing." And I said, "No, man, I never have." And so the Fallen Outdoors is a national 501c3. It's a non-for-profit. Our mission is to cater to those currently serving, serve in the past, and our Gold Star families by providing free of charge therapeutic outdoor ventures. And we have teams in almost every single state. And we're kind of broken down into 4 regions: a West Coast, East Coast, a Southern, and a Midwest. And, we are 100% veteran ran, veteran organized, non-for-profit. We cater to over 200,000 on an annual basis, providing those free trips, man, hunting, fishing, hiking, family trips, anything to get your mind right. Obviously, the overall goal is to prevent, veteran-related suicide.
That's the goal in everything, is to get that number down. That number is damn near doubled now. It's not 22 anymore. I think the last time I looked, the stats was 48 or 49.
Yeah, it varies between 17 and 30-ish, on a regular basis, but sometimes there is spikes, based on political climate and stuff like that. It's a huge effect to it.
So how will a vet or somebody watching get into the Fallen Outdoors? And say somebody wants to be a pro staffer or get into any of that?
Yeah, so you can simply go to thefallenoutdoors.org. There's a place where it says, our team. It shows you a little map. You can pick the state that you're in. It'll give you contact information for your local state chapter or your regional page. Like I said, we're broken down into regions. So if you lived in Missouri, you can click on the state of Missouri and it would show your regional page, which is the Midwest. You can answer the 3 questions. And it takes you to our Facebook page. We mainly operate off Facebook, and that's where we post all of our trips. For instance, Team Missouri says, hey, I'm taking 10 people duck hunting on this day. This is what you need. This is the requirements. To enter, comment, cup them or cut them. And then we have tons of people apply for it. And then we randomly select however many vets can go on that trip with a couple alternates, because some things happen and people back out. And then you go on that trip free and clear, man. Usually we have all the gear needed. We'll get you to that location. And it's just one trip away from meeting your new best friend, man.
Oh, I've met a lot of people out here on the west coast from fishing with you guys. I try to go on as many of the TFO trips as I can, but I mean, I have to have somebody go with me. I can't just because of my medical condition. Yeah. But how do you guys come up with these trips? Is it just a vet became a pro staffer and say, hey, I want to do this? Or is there steps to bring that up to actually be a trip?
Yeah, so we have members. It costs nothing to be a member of our page, and we actively encourage active membership. So if you're a vet, you don't have time to volunteer a lot to be what we consider our pro staff, but you have a bass boat and you're planning on going bass fishing next weekend, and you say, hey, why not take somebody with me? We allow you to post on those pages, say, hey, I'm a bass fisherman, I have a bass boat, I can take one vet with me next Friday. If you're interested in coming out with me, comment below and then select that person to go with you. And that's kind of what we do, is allow you to create your own network of like-minded outdoors men and women, from all around. And you're not stuck to your region. If you're in Missouri and you've always wanted to go elk hunting in Colorado, or Nevada or Arizona or something, and you see a trip get posted in those states that you want to attend, you're obviously allowed to put in for it. On trips like that, you may have to get yourself to that location, but that trip's still going to be free for you. So it's pretty cool.
So to set up the trips, does a person have to be a pro staffer?
Nope. Like I said, we encourage active membership. So if you just have time on your hands or want somebody to enjoy the great outdoors with you, we encourage you to post up, what kind of event you have planned, or spur of the moment things even, and take another fellow vet with you. What our pro staff do is, they're the ones that constantly work with landowners, other businesses and stuff in order to raise funds and kind of plan events. And what we try to do is get larger scale events, like that duck hunt I was talking about with 10 people. They may coordinate with a landowner who has access to some good duck hunting property. Excuse me. And, they may work with him, provide a tax receipt or a 501c3 right off to that landowner to allow access to this property, and they can host that trip through the Fallen Outdoors. And that's really what our guys do, is promote the organization and, try to plan multiple outings for the veterans of our organization.
Okay. So I know you guys have, and I know on the West Coast, there's some big trips. There's like one's the sockeye trip in Brewster Pool. That's like anywhere from, I think last year I went, there was 50 vets in all that aspect. How do you guys go about finding like boat captains with boats that are willing to do that? Do you guys reach out to people, or do they reach out to you guys and say, hey, I want to be a part of this?
So it's both. I mean, we do, we pride ourselves by being boots on the ground, especially here in Missouri. I'm always knocking and talking with landowners to try to get access. But on large scale events like that, we put out flyers and marinas and stuff and say, hey, if you're willing to volunteer your time and your gas to help support this great organization, comment or give us a holler. And what we do is we just coordinate, and we create this huge network of, civilians and veterans that, have boats and stuff like that just want to support the organization. And so that allows us to host, multiple events where we can get a lot of veterans out at a time. You see it in Alaska quite a bit. They do some offshore trips, and I mean, each boat carries like up to 60 people. So they can get a couple hundred people out in one day, jigging for flounders and whatever fish is up there. So it's pretty cool.
So I actually really straight up just forgot the question I was going to ask you. Ooh,
it's because of my good looks. I'm throwing you off.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. Yeah, no, it's that stupid ass the TBI that I have that I'm fighting VA for.
I get it, man. I get it.
It's ridiculous. So there it is. So it's only through TFO. It's veterans, active duty, or Gold Star families. Correct?
Correct. And that's something we pride ourselves on being is we're 100% veteran ran. All of our trips are for the veteran community. Doesn't matter if you served, as long as you served your time honorably, no matter how long that time is, you can be a part of our organization. You can be currently serving, served in the past, in our Gold Star families. Obviously, we try to cater to those guys who lost their loved ones to combat.
So, for instance, say me, I fill out a thing and I get accepted. Can I take my family?
So we do. So each event is kind of specific to what it caters to. 99, I would say probably 90% of our trips are catered to the specific veteran, but a lot of our teams do host like family barbecues, banquets, and stuff like that are open to everybody. So
Okay,
each
I
trip
didn't know that.
trip gets posted and has kind of some requirements. It may say one veteran and their son or daughter, if children are allowed on the trip, or if it's a spouse. We do a lot of cool stuff like that too. We try to incorporate our family because they are a big part of our mental awareness.
Oh yeah, big time. No, I was curious about that because like the Brewster Pool event. I mean, I'd love going on that. That's just fun, and obviously the boats are full regardless. But I have seen where there's family with the vet. That's why I was curious. Like, if I wanted to do that and say take my son, is it going to be like, no, it's only for vets, or can you bring a family member to an event like that? Not like a barbecue, but let's say a fishing event, because that's what I do. To where I just want to get him out of the house with me to go do something. Is that okay, or is it just for the vets and Gold Star families in those events?
Yeah, so each event is kind of specific. Sometimes it may say a vet plus one, but most of our trips are mainly for the veteran itself. But there are some specific events that are allowed to bring your spouse or an additional person or whatever it needs to be. A lot of our veterans, are disabled in some form or fashion that requires a caretaker. And so we will cater to those needs, obviously. The best thing I would say is if you see a trip that you're interested in and want to know what the stipulations are on that trip, and if it's not clear within the post, send a direct message to the person who posted that trip. They're probably a staff or Thor organization, and we'll work out something for you. We'll get you guys taken care of.
Yeah, I was really curious about that because like last year I would have loved to have my son with me. I mean, because that was just so fun. There's so many of those fish there, and then there's so many boats, and it's just an experience that I don't have a boat. It's not like I can just take him to go fishing. To do that, do something like that. So I mean, that would be fun. Have you guys ever thought of doing like say a family or event along those lines for like fishing or hiking or mushroom picking or anything along those lines that includes the vet plus their family? That's not just a barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, we do hunting and fishing trips for families as well. Just a lot of our landowners nowadays are saying, hey, I want to cater to a certain crowd. And if they say, hey, I want just veterans to come out on my property, then we obviously have to cater to what our landowners say. Or if they say, hey, I want a Purple Heart recipient, or I want it to be a ranger, you gotta cater to the landowner as well. But we do quite a few family related fishing trips, hunting trips and stuff too.
Yeah, I haven't personally seen one yet on the West Coast. I'm definitely looking for those because I mean I love having my family with me on stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Plus, it just gives them the chance to be outside, something new, something that I can't do on my own just to take them because I don't have all the equipment.
Yeah.
But that would definitely be one of those. So
yeah, and if there's specific events that you're looking for, like I said, you can go to thefallenoutdoors.org. There's a little chat button or an email you can send to, which is support@thefallenoutdoors.org. That'll go to our admin team, and they can kind of answer your questions or actually get you in touch with the team local to you and get you something set up.
Right on. No, I'm going to look into that. We're gonna go to a break, and then when we get back, I want to get more information on you for like the big events like out here, like the Sportsman Show, what the TFO booth is all about, and I definitely want you to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I love kayak.
You guys will be back. We'll be back after this. This is a veteran songwriter. I'm assuming. So I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you back here. And I don't know when this is done.
I'd stare down the barrel of a gun. I'd walk through the lion's den. I'll fight to save my family, even if it means my end. This world is hard enough without the ones you love. If it ain't me, who's gonna hold a gun? I'm playing the dead man's game, like sheep led to slaughter. The devil's here to take your soul, but blood is thicker than water. Standing at the gates of hell, I'll have to play their game. The price is high, but I've refused to forget her name. No borders, no walls, only God can part the sea. It'll take more than the devil to burn down this tree. No borders, no walls, through the deserts I will seek the righteous path and bring them to their knees. There's no line a man won't cross for his family. Scorned and convicted for crossing the line. Since when did one in heaven become a crime? They just want to plant their seeds amongst the pines. For a chance at something better, they'll give their life. No borders, no walls, only God can part the sea. It'll take more than the devil to burn down this tree. No borders, no walls, through the deserts I will seek the righteous path and bring them to their knees. There's no line a man won't cross for his family. On American soil, their roots have run dry. It'll take holy water from the tear of an angel's cry. No borders, no walls, only God can part the sea. It'll take more than the devil to burn down this tree. No borders, no walls, through the deserts I will seek the righteous path and bring them to their knees. There's no line a man won't cross for his family.
So, as you guys know, today is Good Friday. Sunday is Resurrection Sunday. If you guys have a religious background, that last bit, that was a good friend of mine with Lady Liberty Foundation, named Noelle. Her TikTok handle is Makeup SX by Noelle. I believe it showed on there tonight at, I want to say 8:15 Eastern time, she's doing a live tribute for Resurrection Sunday, where she will be doing her makeup that she does all about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So you guys tune into that if you can. It's awesome. It's tonight. They're very emotional tributes. So on that note, with TFO, what is that you pointed at just before we went to break?
So that's an unreleased item right there. So I'm a big avid kayak angler. I love fishing. And so we host an event called Tournaments to Reduce the 22. It's a monthly online kayak tournament. And they go March through October. So we host 8 tournaments, and it's kayak fishing, man. It's open anybody nationwide, any public water. And it's basically just fishing to support our veterans. You can sign up. We have our own Facebook page, Fallen Outdoors Kayak Anglers. And we're fishing tournaments to raise money for the 22 and help veterans get out on the water and in the woods. And we have a great community of anglers who support us. And this is a nice trophy that was donated by another veteran of ours. And yeah, it's pretty cool. We give out huge prize packages, which is all those boxes over here are full of lures and different fishing related items. And every month prize packages go out. We don't give a payout because all proceeds go to benefit the Fallen Outdoors.
So on the kayak thing, is that nationwide or is that specified to where you're at?
No, it's absolutely nationwide. So we've had anglers fish California, Colorado, Arkansas, Florida. We even had a guy from Italy bass fishing out in Italy out of his kayak a few years back, and didn't post any monsters, but he was an avid kayak angler and wanted to support the cause, and he was fishing out there in Italy. So it's pretty cool. We operate on Tourney X, which is a platform where you can submit all your pictures of your fish and stuff like that. And it is CPR, which is catch, picture, release, and it's an awesome way to support the organization too.
Oh, awesome. So now, is that like specific tournaments everywhere, or is that just being a kayak fisherman and just going out and fishing?
Yeah, so most of our tournaments are catered towards bass fishing, and so it's kayak bass fishing. We do have some any means tournaments, which means you can fish from a bass boat, you can fish from the shore, you can fish from a kayak. Hell, you can fish from an inflatable, unicorn if you wanted to. And we will have an any species tournament this year too, and you'll just get points per fish submitted, and we'll give out, tournament prizes. We collect Angler of the Year points throughout the year, and every year our Angler of the Year who has the most points combined of all the tournaments he fished gets a brand new, pretty sweet kayak from one of our sponsors.
So the tournament itself isn't specified to a certain lake. It's nationwide, and you send your pictures in on what you catch, and then you guys go off of that?
Yep, it's all by inches.
Okay.
So we have a standard measuring device that you put your fish on, and there's some rules and regulations on it, but it's fairly easy, and you can fish any public water within your state or any state that you want to fish in.
Okay, so how would vets get the what you guys measure with and know is it all on and know what type of tournament is, if it's bass or if it's trout or if it's crappie or whatever it can be? Is there a list somewhere that says what the more or less regulations for each fish? And then how would we go about getting what you guys, the Fallen Outdoors, uses as a measure to say I want one and I want to start doing it? How would I get what I need to go out and show you guys the tournament fish that I would get?
Yeah, so you can go to the Fallen Outdoors Kayak Anglers on Facebook. We post all the rules and regulations there. You can also go to Tourney X, which is our platform where we run our tournaments, and you can type in the Fallen Outdoors in the search for teams or tournaments, and it'll list our tournaments. And when you click on, like, let's say April's tournament, which is active right now, so you can register for April, it'll break down the whole month on, the rules and regulations for that specific month, what kind of fish we're catching. And then the boards we use are catch boards. So you can go to Catch, that's KETCH USA.com. That's the catch boards we use. That's our standard measuring device, so everybody's on the same plane, everybody uses the same board.
So we had a comment from my brother-in-law actually, and
nice.
He says, "How did your military training prepare you for the realities of deployment?"
Whew. I would say both of my deployments, I had very good train up. I was fairly young when I deployed to Iraq. So let's see, I joined the military in 2001, deployed in 2004. So I had a period of 2.5, 3 years of training, prior to my deployment. And, being a divisional MP and always supporting our 2nd Brigade combat team, we did a lot of field training. And so when I deployed to Iraq, I felt that I had all the necessary tools and equipment and the knowledge I needed to make that successful. And the same thing goes for Afghanistan. I spent 2 years as a CID agent at that time and had all the training I needed to excel. So,
See, now on the flip side of that, I agree with some of what you said. I don't believe the training I had at 18 prepared me for what I was going to deal with going to Iraq.
yeah,
It helps, but I don't think it really truly prepares you for what you actually have to do. Because honestly, I don't think there's nothing that can prepare you to go into a firefight. You can do all you
absolutely.
want, but when you have live rounds coming at you and you're actually shooting to save your life, I don't think anything can prepare you for that.
Yeah, I mean, you do high stress scenarios prior to your deployment, and it doesn't even come close to touching, your first experience.
Yeah.
And that first time you hear that round whiz over your head, it's a total different environment that you're in.
Oh man, when you hear that subsonic noise, it's within 10 inches of your head.
Yeah,
Because if it's any further out of that, you're not going to hear it.
yeah,
But when you hear that I can't even explain.
yeah,
Yeah. It's something else. It's close. And I mean, that is definitely a pucker factor that there ain't no training can prepare you for that. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
unless the military wants to do live shooting, and then you're taking the chance of shooting other people. Now, don't get me wrong, we've done live fire exercises,
Mhm.
but we were the only ones with the rounds, and nobody was fighting at us. So it's different because I don't know. You start getting shots coming at you, you think differently.
Absolutely.
Go into training, yeah. I mean, some people are high speed soldiers, and they're like, we're gonna do this, blah blah blah. But then there's other guys that laugh and joke about it the whole time, and they don't
Yeah.
take it serious until it truly happens. That's a hard one. So, real quick, we got, I don't know, 3-4 minutes left. How has TFO in the outdoors helped curb your anxiety and your PTSD? Because I'm pretty sure you probably have it.
Yeah. So I mean, we all have areas where we find our peace, and there's nothing like sitting at the base of a tree on a warm spring morning, hearing gobblers, busting from the roofs of the trees. Kayak fishing on a crystal clear lake, just easing your mind. You can hear everything. And so those are the kind of the video and the audio cues that I look for to kind of helps me decompress. That's where I find peace. And there's nothing like sitting at the base of that tree, listening to the gobblers with, a fellow vet to your left or right, and they're experiencing that for the first time. And that's what I really like about the organization, because it creates what I call a wildfire. I take a veteran hunting or fishing for the first time. They've enjoyed it to the max. And the next thing I see is them posting on the page, "Hey, I'm a new turkey hunter. I want to take somebody with me and share what I've learned so far." And it just creates that wildfire, that ripple effect that, and that's how we're able to help as many veterans as we do.
So I found with me, just being outside doesn't have to be sitting at a tree or anything. It's being outside clears my head. Now, like, I'm an avid angler. I fish a lot, and trust me, that helps me a lot when I'm when I get in my head. I know I need to go outside, and my go-to is fishing. Where it sounds like your go-to is kind of hunting. I knew when I was 15, it's going to be fishing or hunting, but I cannot support two habits that are that expensive. So I picked fishing this year round.
Yeah. So I know we're getting short on time here. And we've already mentioned the number 22 numerous times throughout this cast here, but I want to capitalize on this and take a moment to say, if you go to thefallenoutdoors.org, one of our big campaigns we're running right now is called the 22 for the 22. And so you can go to 22forthe22.org, And what this is a monthly subscription. It's only $22 a month. We put all these funds throughout the year into one big pot, and every January we disperse these funds across all of our teams. And so they're able to start out every January by helping kick ass, by set up all these trips to help get their veterans into the woods or on the water. So if you can go to the 22 for the 22.org or at thefallenoutdoors.org, check out the 22 for 22, and what we say is together we can provide that hope, connection, and healing through the power of the outdoors.
One last thing.
Yes, sir.
The booths that are at the big sportsman shows, what is the sole goal behind that with TFO being at those big sportsman shows?
So two things, really. We love going to the sportsman shows because the outdoor industry is a huge market. So we want two things out of those. We want to raise some funds to help get our vets on those trips so they don't have to pay for it. We front all the money. But two is brand awareness. We love getting our name out there. I live right here in Missouri at Fort Leonard Wood, and I have my whole back window of my trucks glassed out with the Fallen Outdoor stuff. And I'll still get people coming to me and say, hey, what is this about? I can't wait for the time where everybody knows the name of the Fallen Outdoors and knows what we do and why we do it. And so going to those trade shows and having our name visible and passing out flyers and information to bring awareness to the 22, is why we do those shows. And we also make great connections with landowners and, other things to help coordinate some big trips.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for taking your time and getting on here and getting the word out about TFO. It's an amazing organization. I'm a part of it. I've been a part of it for a few years now. So thank you for talking about it and getting that word out. I really appreciate that. And I want one of those shirts.
These are my outdoor show shirts, but I do have some shirts in the back. So we'll talk offline here and let me get you something going.
Cool. I'm a double X.
Some cool hats for you. We'll get you set up with something, brother.
Sweet. Well, thank you and have a great day. And I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, brother.
All right. Thanks for listening, you guys. Stay tuned next week. Oh man. We have Hope for 22, a foundation we'll be talking about the Cruise-a-Palooza that's coming up, and her foundation and her calendars and everything. So you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys next week. See ya.